In this video, we explore the idea of quietly quitting relationships and how to emotionally detach as you prepare for a breakup. We'll cover signs of emotional fatigue, how to set healthy boundaries, and steps to rebuild your relationship with yourself and others. You'll also learn how to embrace your inner strength, prioritize your well-being, and reclaim your identity after a challenging relationship. Join us for insights on healing, closure, and moving forward with confidence. What it means to quietly quit. Quiet quitting in a relationship is something that a lot of people go through but don't always talk about. It's that moment when, mentally, you've already started stepping back without saying anything. You're still physically there, you're still going through the motions, but inside, you're preparing yourself for the end. Maybe you've reached a point where you're just tired of the fights, the misunderstandings, the little things that used to not bother you but now feel unbearable. It's not like you woke up one day and decided you're done. It's something that happens over time, often after years of being with someone. It's like a slow buildup of frustration, and after a while, you just start to detach. What quiet quitting really means is that, emotionally, you're checking out. You haven't officially broken up, but your heart and mind are already elsewhere. It's a way of protecting yourself from the pain of what you know is coming. Or maybe it's a way to avoid confrontation because sometimes it's easier to just pull away quietly than to have a big, messy breakup. But even though it feels like you're sparing yourself, it can be a confusing and lonely experience. You're still in the relationship, but it doesn't feel like it. You start creating emotional distance, and you focus more on yourself than the relationship, which, to be honest, has probably been draining you for a long time. It's not about being selfish or heartless. It's about survival. You get to a point where you realize you've given so much of yourself to the other person, and now you need to take some of it back. You've tried to make things work, but after a while, it's exhausting. Quiet quitting is like your mind's way of telling you that you're done, even if you haven't said the words yet. It's a process of mentally preparing for what's coming next. So when the breakup finally happens, it doesn't hit as hard because, in a way, you've already been living in that breakup space for a while. It's a slow, steady detachment, but it's often the beginning of the end. Why detachment happens? Detachment in a relationship usually doesn't happen overnight. It builds over time, little by little, until you reach a point where you feel completely disconnected. There's always a reason behind it, even if it's not something you can pinpoint right away. One major reason detachment happens is emotional exhaustion. You've invested so much energy into the relationship, whether that's through trying to communicate, fixing problems, or even just keeping the peace. But after a while, you get tired. Tired of the effort, tired of trying to make it work, tired of feeling like you're not getting back what you're giving. When you feel emotionally drained, it becomes easier to just check out mentally. You stop caring as much about the things you used to because you don't have the energy anymore. Sometimes, detachment happens because of a buildup of small disappointments. You might not have one huge argument or moment that makes you want to leave, but instead, there's a series of little things that add up. Maybe they don't listen when you talk, or they take you for granted, or they keep making promises they don't keep. Over time, these little things chip away at the connection you once had, and eventually you start pulling back. Another reason people detach is when they realize they've outgrown the relationship. Who you were when you first started dating might not be who you are now, and that's okay. People change, and sometimes you grow in different directions. When you're no longer on the same page, it's natural to feel like the relationship isn't working anymore, and that's when the detachment starts. You begin to imagine a life without them, and slowly, you start preparing for that reality. Detachment can also be a form of self-protection. If you've been hurt or disappointed too many times, you might start to detach to avoid more pain. It's a defense mechanism. You distance yourself emotionally so that when things fall apart, it doesn't hurt as much. You stop expecting things from the other person because expecting leads to disappointment. And after a while, it just becomes easier to stop caring than to keep getting hurt. In the end, detachment happens because something in the relationship is no longer fulfilling you. It's your mind and heart's way of preparing for an ending that, deep down, you know is inevitable. It's not always a conscious decision, but once it starts, it's hard to go back. Recognizing the signs of emotional fatigue. Emotional fatigue in a relationship can sneak up on you. It's not always obvious at first, but if you pay attention, there are subtle red flags that signal something's off. Maybe you notice that the things your partner does, which used to be endearing or easy to overlook, now just irritate you. It could be small things like the way they chew their food or the fact that they leave their clothes on the floor. At first, you brush it off, thinking it's not a big deal, but over time, these little irritations start piling up. Each time it happens, it feels like another weight on your shoulders, and eventually, it's all you can focus on. Another sign of emotional fatigue is the feeling of drifting apart. You don't necessarily argue more, but the connection that once felt strong and effortless now seems distant. Conversations become surface level, and moments of intimacy feel forced or non-existent. It's not like you don't care about each other anymore, but the emotional energy that once flowed between you has started to fade. You might find yourself avoiding deep conversations, not because you don't want to talk, but because you're too tired to engage. It's like the relationship is still there, but the spark that made it special has dimmed, and you're not sure how to reignite it or if you even want to. When small irritations pile up and the emotional distance grows, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. You may start to feel like the relationship is more of a burden than a source of joy. That's emotional fatigue at its core, when you're just too tired to keep giving, and the effort feels like it's not worth it anymore. It's important to recognize these signs early because once they set in, it's hard to reverse the process. And if you're feeling this way, it's a signal that something in the relationship needs to change. Setting boundaries, creating emotional distance. Setting boundaries for personal space is an important step when you feel yourself detaching from a relationship. Creating emotional distance isn't about being cold or cruel. It's about protecting your mental and emotional well-being. You've reached a point where you can't keep giving endlessly without taking care of yourself first, and that's okay. Emotional distance helps you clear your head and start focusing on your own needs, rather than constantly worrying about the relationship. The first step in creating this space is being intentional about how much energy you give to your partner. You might not respond to every text right away or feel the need to engage in every conversation. It's not about playing games or being rude, it's about taking a step back to breathe. You can start spending more time on your own hobbies, catching up with friends, or just doing things that make you feel like yourself again, outside of the relationship. This emotional distance allows you to start separating your identity from the relationship and figure out what you really want. At this stage, it's also important to avoid getting dragged into the same old arguments or emotional traps. You've probably had the same conversations over and over with no resolution in sight. By setting a boundary, you're essentially telling yourself, I'm not going to let this take up more of my energy. You become more selective about what you engage with, and that's a key part of the detachment process. It's about giving yourself the mental space to reflect without constantly being pulled back into the same emotional cycle. Limiting engagement in arguments. Limiting engagement in arguments is another key part of detaching and setting boundaries for personal space. At a certain point, you start to realize that not every argument is worth your energy, especially when you've had the same fight multiple times with no real outcome. Instead of getting pulled into yet another exhausting back and forth, you can choose to take a step back. This doesn't mean you're avoiding the problem, but rather, you're choosing peace over constantly rehashing the same issues. When you limit your engagement in arguments, you're making a conscious decision to not let every disagreement escalate. Maybe you start by simply not reacting right away. You take a moment to breathe, process, and decide if it's even worth responding to. Often, arguments are fueled by emotion in the heat of the moment. But when you detach emotionally, it's easier to see things clearly. You're no longer trying to win the argument or prove a point because deep down, you're already starting to move on. By not engaging, you conserve your energy and avoid getting caught up in the emotional turmoil that arguments bring. This boundary helps you maintain a sense of calm, even when your partner is trying to push your buttons. You can acknowledge their feelings without getting sucked into the negativity. Sometimes just saying, I hear you, "But I don't want to argue about this right now," can be enough to diffuse the situation. You're not agreeing or giving in, you're simply choosing to protect your peace. Focusing on yourself. Focusing on yourself is a crucial part of the detachment process. When you've spent so much time and energy on a relationship that's no longer fulfilling, it's easy to lose sight of who you are outside of it. This is the time to shift that focus back onto you, and it can actually be incredibly freeing. You start to rediscover what makes you happy, what excites you, and what you've maybe neglected while trying to make things work with your partner. It's about taking small, intentional steps to reconnect with your own interests and passions. Maybe you start picking up hobbies you once loved, spending more time with friends, or even just enjoying some solitude. By focusing on yourself, you're slowly reclaiming your independence and building up your sense of self-worth. This is where you begin to realize that your happiness doesn't have to depend on the relationship, and that's a powerful thing. Focusing on yourself also means prioritizing your mental and emotional health. It's okay to set boundaries, say no, and protect your energy. You're giving yourself permission to care for your own needs without feeling guilty. This shift in focus helps you gain clarity about what you want moving forward, and it empowers you to move through the detachment process with strength and self-compassion. Rediscovering who you are without him. Reclaiming your identity after detaching from a relationship is all about rediscovering who you are without the influence of your partner. When you've been with someone for a long time, your identity can become intertwined with theirs. You start making decisions based on what they like or need, and sometimes you lose sight of yourself in the process. But now that you're pulling away, it's time to reconnect with the person you were before the relationship, or even discover new parts of yourself you didn't know existed. This is a time to reflect on what makes you feel alive and fulfilled without thinking about anyone else's expectations or opinions. What are the things you used to love doing that maybe fell to the side while you were focused on the relationship? Or maybe you've changed over the years and there are new passions and interests you want to explore. It could be something as simple as finding joy in activities that are just for you, whether that's painting, reading, traveling, or just spending time alone. Rediscovering who you are is about learning to listen to your own voice again, without the noise of someone else's influence. It's about embracing your individuality and celebrating the freedom to make choices that are solely about what makes you happy. This process can be empowering because you're reminding yourself that you are whole and complete on your own, without needing to rely on a relationship to define your worth or identity. Hobbies, passions, and solo time are essential when you're in the process of detaching and reclaiming your identity. These are the activities that bring you joy and fulfillment, and they help you reconnect with the parts of yourself that may have been neglected during the relationship. When you immerse yourself in a hobby or passion, it gives you a sense of purpose and accomplishment that's entirely your own, something that's not tied to anyone else. Maybe there's a hobby you loved before the relationship, but haven't made time for lately. Or perhaps you've always wanted to try something new but never did. Now is the perfect time to dive into those interests. Whether it's painting, dancing, gardening, writing, or learning a new skill, these activities give you an outlet for self-expression and personal growth. They help you shift your focus back to you, allowing you to experience happiness that isn't dependent on your partner or anyone else. Solo time is just as important. It's a chance to enjoy your own company, reflect on your thoughts, and recharge. Spending time alone can help you gain clarity on what you want and who you are outside of a relationship. Whether it's taking yourself out for a coffee, going for a walk, or simply enjoying some quiet time at home, solo time allows you to feel comfortable with being by yourself, reminding you that your own presence is enough. Navigating conversations while detaching. How to handle conversations about the future. Navigating conversations about the future while detaching from a relationship can be challenging, especially if you're in a transitional phase and still processing your feelings. These discussions can trigger anxiety, fear, or even sadness, as they may bring up unresolved issues or highlight the uncertainty of your situation. However, handling these conversations with clarity and confidence can help you maintain your peace and assert your boundaries as you move forward. Start by being honest with yourself about your feelings regarding the future. If you're feeling uncertain or disengaged, it's okay to express that. You don't have to have everything figured out. And acknowledging your current state can set a more authentic tone for the conversation. You might say something like, "I'm not sure where things are headed right now, and I need some time to think about it." This communicates that you're not ready to make decisions but are open to discussing your feelings. When discussing the future, it's important to set boundaries. If you find the conversation becoming too overwhelming or emotional, don't hesitate to pause or redirect the discussion. You can say, "I think we need to take a break from talking about this for now," or suggest focusing on the present moment instead. This not only protects your emotional space, but also helps you regain a sense of control in the conversation. Additionally, practice active listening. Allow your partner to express their thoughts and feelings, but remember that you don't have to agree or commit to anything. Acknowledging their perspective while standing firm in your feelings can create a healthier dialogue. Phrases like, "I hear what you're saying, but I need to prioritize my own feelings right now," can help you maintain that balance. Ultimately, navigating conversations about the future while detaching is about prioritizing your emotional well-being. It's a process, and it's okay to take your time figuring things out. By handling these discussions with honesty, setting boundaries, and practicing active listening, you can ensure that your needs are met while still being respectful of your partner's feelings. Being honest without ending things abruptly is a delicate balance, especially when you're in the process of detaching from a relationship. It's crucial to communicate your feelings and thoughts without causing unnecessary hurt or making impulsive decisions that you might later regret. This approach allows for open dialogue while still prioritizing your emotional needs and those of your partner. Start by choosing the right time and place for the conversation. A calm, private environment can set a more constructive tone, making it easier for both of you to express yourselves without distractions or interruptions. Before diving into the discussion, take a moment to clarify your own feelings. Understanding what you want to communicate can help you articulate your thoughts more effectively. When you speak, aim for honesty but frame it in a way that focuses on your feelings rather than placing blame. Use I statements to express how you feel, such as, "I've been feeling a bit disconnected lately," rather than "you always make me feel this way." This subtle shift helps convey your emotions without making your partner feel attacked, encouraging a more open and productive conversation. It's also important to express your need for space or change in a way that doesn't imply a definitive end to the relationship. You might say something like, "I need some time to figure things out for myself," or "I think it would be helpful for both of us to take a step back and reflect on what we want." This conveys that you're not completely shutting the door, but rather seeking a healthier space for personal growth. Throughout the conversation, remain open to your partner's responses. They may have their own feelings and perspectives that are important to acknowledge. This dialogue can help both of you understand each other better and potentially find common ground as you navigate this phase of your relationship. By being honest yet gentle, you can communicate your feelings without causing unnecessary upheaval. This approach respects both your needs and your partner's feelings, allowing for a thoughtful transition as you continue to detach and focus on your well-being. Preparing for the breakup, knowing when it's time to walk away. Preparing for a breakup is a significant step in the detachment process, and it involves thoughtful consideration and planning. Knowing when it's time to walk away can be one of the most challenging aspects of this journey. It requires self-awareness and an understanding of your emotional needs. Signs that it might be time to leave include persistent feelings of unhappiness, a lack of connection, or ongoing conflicts that seem impossible to resolve. Trust your instincts. If you feel that the relationship is no longer serving you, it's essential to acknowledge that truth. Once you've recognized that it's time to move on, crafting your breakup strategy is the next crucial step. This strategy involves thinking through how you want to approach the conversation, the key points you want to express, and what you hope to achieve from the discussion. Planning can help you feel more in control and less anxious about the situation. Consider how you want to communicate your feelings while being sensitive to your partner's emotions. Decide whether you prefer a face-to-face conversation or a written message, and choose an appropriate time to ensure you both have the space to talk openly. Self-compassion is vital throughout this process. Breaking up can be emotionally taxing, and it's essential to be gentle with yourself as you navigate these feelings. Allow yourself to grieve the relationship and acknowledge that it's okay to feel a mix of emotions, from sadness to relief. Engaging in self-care practices, such as spending time with supportive friends, journaling your feelings, or exploring new hobbies, can be incredibly helpful. Remind yourself that you're taking steps toward a healthier future, and give yourself permission to prioritize your well-being. By preparing for the breakup with intention, you can make the process smoother and less emotionally charged. Knowing when it's time to walk away, crafting a thoughtful strategy, and practicing self-compassion will empower you as you move forward, helping you reclaim your sense of self and open the door to new possibilities. Crafting your breakup strategy is an essential step in ensuring that the process is as respectful and constructive as possible. A well-thought-out approach can help minimize misunderstandings and emotional turmoil, allowing both you and your partner to navigate this transition more smoothly. Start by identifying your goals for the breakup conversation. What do you want to achieve? Is it clarity, closure, or perhaps a chance to explain your feelings? Knowing your objectives will guide how you frame the conversation and what key points you need to express. Write down your thoughts and feelings beforehand, focusing on what you want to communicate without placing blame. This can help clarify your thoughts and ensure that you stay on track during the discussion. Next, consider the logistics of the conversation. Choose a private, comfortable setting where both of you can speak openly without interruptions. Timing is also crucial. Select a moment when both of you are relatively calm and can focus on the conversation without external pressures. Avoid initiating the discussion during a stressful time or when emotions are already running high. When you begin the conversation, be honest and direct, but also compassionate. Use I statements to express your feelings and experiences. For example, saying, "I feel that we have grown apart," is less accusatory than saying, "You never make time for me." This approach allows you to convey your emotions without making your partner feel defensive, which can lead to a more productive dialogue. Prepare for various reactions from your partner, as they may experience shock, sadness, or even anger. Stay calm and patient, allowing them to express their feelings. Acknowledge their emotions while remaining firm in your decision. This balance is crucial. You want to validate their feelings without compromising your own boundaries. Finally, consider how you want to handle the aftermath of the breakup. Decide whether you want to maintain some form of contact, take a complete break, or establish boundaries for future interactions. Being clear about this can help both of you adjust to the changes and find a sense of closure. Crafting your breakup strategy is about being intentional and respectful, not just for yourself but for your partner as well. With a clear plan, you can approach the conversation with confidence and compassion, making a difficult transition more manageable for both of you. Healing and finding closure after a relationship can be a deeply personal and transformative process. It's essential to recognize that closure isn't always about a final conversation or a neatly wrapped ending. Instead, it's often something you create for yourself through self-reflection, acceptance, and emotional healing. To begin this journey, allow yourself the space to heal. Give yourself permission to feel the full range of emotions that come with the end of a relationship: sadness, anger, relief, or even confusion. It's crucial to understand that healing isn't a linear process. Some days will be more challenging than others. Acknowledge these feelings without judgment, allowing yourself to process them in your own time. Reflecting on the relationship is a vital step toward finding closure. Take some time to think about what you learned from your experiences. Consider the dynamics of the relationship, both the positive and negative aspects. What did you appreciate, and what didn't work for you? This reflection can help you gain clarity on your needs and desires in future relationships, empowering you to set healthier boundaries and make better choices moving forward. Acceptance is another key component of closure. Understand that some things are beyond your control and that not all relationships are meant to last. This acceptance doesn't mean you dismiss your feelings. Instead, it means you acknowledge the reality of the situation and give yourself permission to move on. It can be helpful to remind yourself that ending a relationship can lead to personal growth and open the door to new opportunities. Forgiveness, both for yourself and your partner, can also facilitate healing. This doesn't necessarily mean you condone past actions or behaviors, but rather that you choose to let go of the emotional burden associated with them. Holding on to anger or resentment can impede your healing process. So, finding a way to forgive can free you from the weight of those feelings, allowing you to focus on your own well-being. Creating a ritual for closure can also be beneficial. This could be writing a letter to your ex that you never send, symbolically letting go of the relationship through a small ceremony, or engaging in an activity that represents moving on, like planting a tree or lighting a candle. These actions can help solidify your intention to heal and mark the transition from the past to a new beginning. Ultimately, healing and finding closure is about reclaiming your narrative and focusing on your journey ahead. By allowing yourself the time and space to heal, reflecting on the relationship, practicing acceptance and forgiveness, and creating meaningful rituals, you can move forward with a sense of empowerment and hope for the future. Embrace this time as an opportunity for growth and self-discovery, knowing that healing is a process, but one that will lead you to a brighter and more fulfilling path. Rebuilding relationships with yourself and others after a period of detachment is an essential aspect of personal growth and emotional well-being. After stepping away from a relationship, it's natural to focus on healing. But it's equally important to reconnect with yourself and foster healthy connections with those around you. Starting with yourself, rebuilding that relationship means prioritizing self-discovery and self-love. Take time to explore your interests, passions, and values. Engage in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment, whether it's picking up a new hobby, exploring your creative side, or simply spending time in nature. By reconnecting with who you are outside of a relationship, you can cultivate a stronger sense of identity and purpose. Practicing self-compassion is also key. Be gentle with yourself as you navigate your feelings and experiences. Recognize that it's okay to feel a range of emotions, and don't shy away from acknowledging your journey. Positive self-talk can play a significant role in rebuilding your self-esteem and confidence. Remind yourself of your strengths, achievements, and the valuable lessons you've learned along the way. As you work on your relationship with yourself, it's time to turn your attention to rebuilding connections with others. Start with your support system, friends and family who care about you. Nurture these relationships by spending quality time together, sharing your thoughts, and being open about your experiences. These connections can provide the emotional support you need as you heal and grow. Rebuilding relationships with others also means being open to new connections. You might consider joining clubs, attending events, or participating in activities that interest you. This can help you meet new people and form friendships that align with your current self. Remember to approach new relationships with an open heart and mind, allowing yourself to embrace the possibilities of what these connections can bring. Communication is crucial in rebuilding relationships, whether with yourself or others. Be honest about your feelings and experiences, and don't hesitate to share your journey with those you trust. Practicing vulnerability can foster deeper connections and allow others to support you in meaningful ways. Setting healthy boundaries is also essential. As you rebuild relationships, make sure to communicate your needs and limitations clearly. This not only protects your well-being, but also encourages mutual respect in your interactions with others. Establishing boundaries ensures that your relationships remain supportive and positive. Lastly, remember that rebuilding relationships takes time. Be patient with yourself and others as you navigate this process. Celebrate small victories along the way, recognizing that each step forward is a part of your healing journey. By focusing on rebuilding your relationship with yourself and nurturing your connections with others, you'll create a fulfilling support network and cultivate a deeper understanding of yourself in the process. Embrace this journey as an opportunity for growth, connection, and renewed happiness in your life. Moving forward with strength is all about embracing the lessons learned and using them as a foundation for your future. After detaching from a relationship, It's essential to acknowledge your resilience and the courage it takes to prioritize your own well-being. This new chapter is an opportunity for personal growth and self-discovery, allowing you to define your path and create a life that aligns with your true self. As you navigate this journey, focus on the positives that lie ahead. Embrace the freedom to make choices that serve you and honor your values. With every step you take, remember that you have the strength within you to face challenges and thrive. Surround yourself with supportive people who uplift you, and be open to new experiences that enrich your life. It's also important to keep in mind that healing and growth are ongoing processes. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small, and continue to invest in yourself. By cultivating a strong sense of self and remaining open to new possibilities, you'll find that moving forward can lead to exciting and fulfilling experiences. Thank you for joining me in this discussion about detaching from relationships and moving forward with strength. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. Your support means a lot and helps me continue creating valuable insights for you. Remember, you are not alone in this journey, and your strength will guide you to a brighter future. Until next time, take care of yourself.